Today on the show, we have a special live edition of Xbox A, PlayStation versus Xbox. People saying words, talking about things and other things about video games, Activision, Blizzard, Bungie, other words that are game related. Let's get into the full episode right now. Yeah, everybody, welcome to Xbox A. I'm Matt. It's Court. And we have special guests. Let's do a little round table. To my bottom of my screen, she from Burnout Brighter, Matt. Hi.
Hello, my friend. How you doing?
Hi.
How's it going?
Thanks for coming.
Before you introduce yourself, Matt, we're gonna have to figure out, because we got Matt and Matt. Yeah, this is gonna be a problem.
Do you want to do Burnout? Do you want to do?
Sure.
Yeah, that's not gonna work for me. You're just gonna be person, and you'll be Matt. No, I'm kidding. I don't know.
I don't know who he's pointing to. That's the problem. To me, he just pointed to the Discord list.
Hold on. Let me go on that. Let me go on YouTube here. On
that still doesn't help him. This helps you. That doesn't help Matt.
Just do PlayStation, Matt.
Matt 1, Matt 2. Okay, we're gonna go. The chat wants to go with Matt 1, Matt 2.
All right.
So that's what we're gonna go with.
I'm Matt 2. Called it.
Good,
Matt,
for you.
Matt 1 thought he was gonna be Matt 2 for sure. That's the way he was looking. He's like, Court's gonna make me Matt 2.
It's okay.
I'm already confused as to which Matt is which.
Mats,
Seriously.
plural. Just refer to us as one. We are the Mats.
And in our other frame, it's Kyle from PS Trophy Room. Kyle, howdy ho.
That's me. Hello.
You sound great.
Oh, thank you. We weren't having any audio issues whatsoever beforehand.
None.
And you make fun of me how I hit the mute button.
No, it doesn't.
It's the ginger tap of it, like the gingerly tap.
What, you want me?
Okay.
You want me
Are
to
we all seeing
smack
it
it
now?
real hard?
Matt,
Well, if you're gonna
Matt
smack
too, are you seeing it now? Are you seeing it? It's like a
I am.
tap
Now that you put it in my
ball.
mind, now I do see that. Yeah.
We can actually go back. We can actually go back to a previous episodes of PS Trophy Room. We could actually make a cutting of every single time he's done it, and it could just be like that Kevin video that was going around today and falling, and it could just be Kyle just cupping his
Lightly,
mic.
yeah,
Lightly giving it a little tap-a-roo.
If TLC, tender love and care.
If Kyle hasn't regretted this yet, he sure does now.
Totally does.
Why am I here?
You don't know. You came in the chat and you were like, I'm going to do this. So, boys, we are going to talk about, the war. The giant war that's been going on right now. The epic confrontation. Xbox, PlayStation, acquisition season. It's happening. Court is going to walk us through because I'm excited.
Yes, and spoiler alert here. We don't care about console wars. Honestly, I own a PlayStation 5. We literally were talking about Horizon right before the show. I have an Xbox. Look, I got a PlayStation thingy right here.
Video games are fun.
I got more Xbox. I do have a brand new Series X that I'm touching right here with my hand. You just can't see
How'd you get that?
Matt won. He bought it, and I drove an hour to meet him to switcheroo the S for the X. It was a nice...
Matt,
nice transaction.
I went into GameStop and it was total accident fluke. I walked in there to get like Mario figures for my kid for his birthday. And then I got to the cash. I paid for that. And I went, you don't have a Series X, do you? Oh, yeah, for sure. And I was like, oh, really? You just have them about? He's like, yeah, you want one? The only thing is you got to either get a controller or Game Pass or this or that. And I am... frantically, I said, could you please hold for a moment? And there's no one else in the store, but I'm like, I got to make a decision. I'm frantically texting and calling Court, and it's the one time he doesn't answer. He's like, I'm in a meeting. I'm doing work business things for jobs and other things. And I was like, I said to him, like, I'm going to buy this for you, and you are going to pay me back. So...
I had the exact same thing happen with my brother. I strolled into GameStop after leaving the Costco gas station, and he was looking for a Series X. And same thing. I was like, do you have one? They're like, yeah. And then somebody walks in the store behind me. They're like, do you have a Series X? They're like, this guy has the last one. And I'm like calling my brother. I'm like, do you want this thing or not? You need to buy a controller or a game or something. What is going on? So I empathize with you, Matt. Matt 1. I get you.
Thank you, Matt.
Did you buy it?
Yeah. Got it for him.
Yeah. So I would have went. I've sold the controller, luckily, but I definitely would have probably picked a game. But that's my fault. I did not answer the phone, mind you.
Why would you pick a game? You have Game Pass.
Because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 brand new Xbox controllers right now.
7, Kyle.
That's including the Elite. I have the Halo Elite Series 2. I have the 20th anniversary right here with the nice grippies.
To be fair, he didn't specify what game. I should have really followed up because I could have been like, there's a bargain bin right there for $4. Could I just clear it out for Court? Because I know he'll play all these
Xbox 360 games for sure. Backwards compat. That was the other thing. Like I had the S and I love the S. It's a very good console, but I snagged a ton of 360 games with that 360 you see back there. The person gave it to me and I got like every Call of Duty and Ubisoft game. How convenient now. I even bought all the Ubisoft games when they're on sale. By the way, people, Ubisoft games are on sale. I probably wouldn't buy them right now. They're gonna be on the game system. Ubisoft Plus. Anyways, and now I can put the disc in. So because I have the 2-tier system. I have my office Xbox and my sit down on my couch Xbox. I'm sure. How many consoles do you have, Kyle?
Yeah,
let's go. Let's staff this question first.
I got a PS5. I got an Xbox Series X. I got a Switch, and that's it. Boy, do I wish I could walk into the store and just find a PS5. You kidding me?
I asked.
I got one downstairs. I'll make the joke that Bad Bit gets mad at. It's collecting dust.
That makes me a little mad.
That makes me a little mad.
I'm a little mad right now.
I jokingly put out on Twitter that I was going to sell it, and my DMs blew up.
I'm
like,
sure.
I'll buy it.
Yeah.
So, Matt, too, how many consoles do you have?
I also have a PlayStation 5, an Xbox Series X, and a Nintendo Switch, and then my PC, if we're counting that, but I don't know.
Count that.
What is a PC anymore?
It's the thing we're all talking on?
Oh.
What?
Sounds like we're rhyming off how many girlfriends we have in high school. How many girlfriends? How many do you have, Matt? Huh?
Well, I had 4. How many do you have?
TV box Series X. I have a forget people.
What do you have, Corey? Huh? What do you?
I have 2 Xbox Series X's, one for my computer room, one for the downstairs for my TV in the basement, and I have a PlayStation 5 and an Xbox 360 and a PC.
TV. We keep saying this, guys. I don't know if it's a consensus here, but at least for Court and I, Don Matrick was right.
Yeah, it's weird.
And he was right all along.
He was very wrong when he said what he said when he said.
Yes.
But if he did that now, he'd be kind of right. It's weird.
If you put him in a room today and he shouted nothing but TV and Call of Duty at you, you'd be like, yeah, I get where he's coming from.
Yeah, it's gotta make sense now. Weird. But instead, like TV, he said Game Pass. But
that's the thing. Anyways,
that's like
Court, why don't you kick it off for us? Because we are in for quite the conversation. And thank you, everybody that is joining us here live, youtube.com/XboxA. We appreciate all your support. If you guys are new or you're frequent flyers through the Canada, as many of us are, except for Kyle, but that's okay. He's an honorary.
Oh, no. We just said he's Canadian.
It is acquisition season, so if you buy me,
we should do that to Bad Bit. We should acquire Kyle.
Yeah, and then Kyle can get all the emails from all the Canadian people.
That'd be fantastic.
So Matt too. That's on you because I know that you're
Yeah, Kyle is one of the nicest people I've ever had the pleasure of meeting online.
Thank you.
And that's why he's just like by default Canadian. So I will happily adopt him, and then we can get him into PlayStation Canada. We're gonna rock. Don't worry about it.
Anything that gets me codes early, I'm all for. Let's go.
Oh, Destiny just subscribed. Thank you, Destiny. We appreciate you.
Destiny!
I'm surprised she's here, Matt. Like I figured she's no business wanting to be here. Court, go for it.
So
she's supportive.
We appreciate it. So the very first topic of the show, and it's for you guys, not for me. We're not going to get my opinion because I've given it way too much of my time. I would like to know from you guys over on the PlayStation side here. Last week, Xbox buys Activision Blizzard. A lot of terrible things were said on the internet. And it turns out, Call of Duty, it's still going to be on PlayStation. So I just want to get your guys' take when you first heard it. I know, Kyle, I watched you live pretty much, but and you guys have had a chance to take a week to think about this. From your perspective, what's your take on this?
Go ahead, Matt, number 2.
All right, thank you. For me, I don't think this is going to be something that's going to stay around forever. I like now with the Bungie acquisition, they might play nice. They might be like, we'll let you keep Destiny if you let us keep Call of Duty, but I don't see them making moves like this if by 2025, 2026, we don't see things starting to change or we don't see a shift. Phil Spencer's tweet was so beautifully worded. It was so specific in how he said it, with their intent to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation. It was immaculate. It's perfect.
It's a desire. He's desire.
Yeah. Exactly. So
sorry for the people listening.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm really not sure how all this is going to shake out a few years from now, but it would not surprise me as soon as one of them decides to make a move and say, "Hey, this is now exclusive on our platform." I am sure the other one's going to follow, because I don't know, man. Kyle, where are you at on this?
Oh, I 100% agree. That's a lot of money to just spend to not have it on your console and be a selling point for your console. Mm-hmm. When they first got bought, I mean, obviously my first feelings are, oh my God, my PlayStation mascots from when I was younger are now Xbox exclusive. That's super weird. Tony Hawk, Crash, Spyro, like even Guitar Hero, what I played on PS2 and 3, that's where I played it. Mm-hmm. It just felt weird that it was now an Xbox exclusive. And then you come to yesterday, and now the creators of Halo are now underneath PlayStation. Like, it's extremely weird. What a weird time. But yeah, I definitely think, yeah, it'll be multi-plat for now. There's going to be a moment, like the whole thing of when Bethesda was bought too. That was the same kind of verbiage of like, we'll play nice, and then all of a sudden they drop the hammer down.
Well, was it though? Like the Bethesda one it sounded more like contractual. Like I'm just looking in here. I
absolutely.
I think obviously Warzone stays multi-plat. I think that goes without saying. Mm-hmm. But Jim Ryan just bought Phil Spencer's favorite game. And so that's not in the original agenda. So we might as well just talk about all of it. Like, it's just crazy that what Kyle just said, Bungie is now PlayStation. And it sounds like Jim Ryan's saying all the right things. He even said in an interview later today that he wants his games to be multi-platform. Mm-hmm. I truly think he meant PC.
He just means PC.
That's the other thing. Like the way it's worded, I also believe it means PC. Mm-hmm. And PlayStation,
and
I think that would be smart. No, he's not wrong at all. But I think that comes to like whatever Bungie is going to be making next. I do truly believe Destiny 2 will stay at Xbox, and all the expansions future, they'll be wherever Destiny is currently. But future Bungie things, I think multi-plat means PC and PlayStation.
That, and it's like it starts to get into really interesting territory where if they do decide to say truly multi-plat with Xbox, I mean, this whole content wars between Game Pass and whatever Spartacus is going to end up being, of them saying, hey, you can play Destiny 3 here on PlayStation with your subscription model. Meanwhile, you have to pay however much you're going to need to pay on Xbox at the time. And I mean, like, especially now with the way that Bungie handles everything and how much they charge for, the subscription now, for the actual game, for all the, like, if they somehow manage to just roll that in to what PlayStation Plus 2.0, what Spartacus is going to be, and then charge everywhere else, we're going to start getting into this really interesting territory of like, do you want to buy the other console and subscribe to the subscription so you get all of the things, or are you going to be buying game by game? And like, which one is really going to be cheaper or more cost effective in the long run? Because it's going to get really hairy after a few years.
So Matt, that's a good point though and we might even know like tomorrow from Sony. But I wonder with Spartacus, a tiered system that like has been supposedly leaked and it's been out there. I wonder for
isn't it Infinite? PlayStation Infinite?
But that top tier, whatever a top tier for them, I can totally see that from Sony to say $200, $300 a year. And you're going to get anything and everything Sony first party, DLC, if it's Destiny, it's all the additional content, everything. We will package it and you will get all of that DLC, that content, everything you normally pay for separately, we'll give it to you for free. And that's something that Xbox couldn't do. And that would make a Destiny community, a player like that, sit there and go, yeah, I was going to pay all that anyways. Look at Halo. And people come out and they're like, I'm going to go and I'm going to pay for all the Battle Pass, everything ahead of time. So I can totally see that. And I mean, vice versa on Xbox side, right? I think it's a race for those deals. And then it's all within the additional content to say, well, you got, like Court was saying the other day to me, you got skins, you got gear skins in Halo and vice versa and all of that.
Well, yeah, because it's a race for content now. Like I truly look at this now that I don't think it benefits any of them now if they're going to do this way and they've decided we don't want Apple in, we don't want Google in. The only way we can do this is spend all our money. So You got everybody saying Xbox can spend, or Microsoft, I shouldn't say Xbox, Microsoft. Let's be real here. Bill Gates can spend another $50 billion, regardless of this Activision thing. Even Jeff Keighley put out the tweet, like, more is coming. PlayStation is not done. I'll ask you both what you think PlayStation's next move is. I think the obvious move for Xbox, hey, Ubisoft Plus is coming to Xbox, and we're just not going to tell you a date or not tell you anything else. Makes me think there's more to that than meets the eye, but that's just fishing at this point. But to you guys, Jeff Keighley putting out no one is done. What do you think PlayStation's next move is?
Oh man, it can go so many different directions.
That looks like that's what that's what's about to happen here.
Yeah, so what my philosophy on what PlayStation is doing and what Xbox did differently is I enjoy PlayStation buying studios that have a lineage with PlayStation and the brand and having that kind of symbiotic relationship already, like with Housemarque, with Sucker Punch, Insomniac, even with Bungie now, because Destiny has been tied with PlayStation for 8 years, which is a big chunk of change.
We're stretching it there. That's
but it's 8 years, but it's been
Insomniac made a game for Xbox. Let's move on.
But 8 total years of PlayStation marketing behind one IP is pretty.
Yeah, I believe you.
But so I want them to continue that, and studio wise, I mean, I think Joe from Mr. Bad Bad and Trophy made a great point on the show this week. From Software would be a great get. Bring From Software underneath PlayStation Studios.
That makes sense.
That makes so much sense. Like I do think Sony's probably looking at a bigger publisher and a bigger purchase. I just don't know. And we learned today that EA is like, yeah, no, we're not getting acquired. We're going to be the ones acquiring. All right, good luck over there, EA.
Seriously,
I don't know what that could be. A Capcom, a Square. I think Square Enix would be too much money for Sony. I agree
with you on that. After they just bought Bungie, because from what the rumor is, Microsoft thought the evaluation was too high and they didn't want in. And when Phil Spencer won't even spend that kind of money on his favorite game, craziness.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't know. I think we're getting into interesting territory now because, like, I think with Microsoft buying Bethesda, it kind of set out this flare, almost being like any of this is now on the table in a way that we never really expected before. And I don't think it's the Sonys or the PlayStations that we have to really worry about. It's going to be the Googles, the Amazons, the Apples, who might start getting into this in a really significant way. That's going to really start piecemealing. Like, I tried Stadia and it was cool, but like, if all of a sudden the next Resident Evil is only on Stadia, you know what I mean? Like, these kinds of things are going to start making shifts happen as to like what I
that sounded gross when you just said that.
It kind of,
but like they have the money to throw at stuff like this and not even think about it, right? Like you guys mentioned, like Sony is a much smaller company than Microsoft. If you just look at their market cap overall, like a tenth of the size, it's not even comparable. So like Microsoft has a lot more, FU money to spend on whatever they want. Now, I agree with Kyle. I want PlayStation to get into the space of, like, if they are chasing more acquisitions, if they are not looking for just exclusivity deals with, other third parties, I want them to go after a Square Enix or a Capcom. Square Enix, I think it's evaluated somewhere around 10 billion right now. So it's not as far of a stretch, for them to get it. I think they could figure it out, but I don't really see them going any bigger than that. I think Ubisoft is out of the picture. What was it? Jeff Grubb hinted at, he said it takes two to tango on one of the recent podcasts that he was on. And from what people have figured out, that's an achievement in Resident Evil 5. So like, is he hinting at, in that towards that direction? I don't know. Like, I want the Square Enix, I want the Capcom if we're going in that direction, but that also, and I know we're not really talking about Nintendo too much, but that starts to put Nintendo in a very interesting situation where if PlayStation now owns Square Enix and Nintendo and Square Enix are buddies on things like Triangle Strategy, right? Like, where do these games start going now? And like, that's what I'm really interested to see over the next year is who is going to get bought up, because now I feel like it's just an arms race. Like, people are going to get bought up left, right, and center, and anything's on the table. Anything's on the table.
Because it seems I'm going to ask you guys if you think it's going to get announced tomorrow, but it seems whatever Spartacus is going to be, Sony went from we're not doing a streaming service, it can't make money, to we have no choice or we're going to die. Because let's just be honest, that's where it came down to. They were like, if we don't do this, Microsoft's just going to buy up everybody, and they're just going to have every game, and they're going to do what we did to Sega. Like that's the reality of the situation here. I truly think Sony has the added advantage of their relationships with those Japanese developers that Microsoft is almost impossible to have. Let's just be real. So like a Capcom makes sense. I looked at those evaluations. Square Enix makes sense. And then you look at the Xbox side, and IO Interactive makes sense for them. Ubisoft makes way too much sense for Xbox. Let's be real here. It's like,
do you think they could go?
And then you have EA, who EA is going to try and buy. You can just smell EA wants Take-Two. You could smell it. They want that Grand Theft Auto.
That's what I was going to ask. Is do you think that Rockstar would be on the table at all, or do you think that they would just kind of do their own thing for life?
Sorry, Coco, go ahead.
To me, this is just my opinion. It's one game. Bungie made sense for PlayStation because Jim Ryan? Someone made a great quote about this today. It's their Fortnite, and I was like, oh my god. Like Sony could do so much with that because all the properties they have, they could put movie everybody licensing too, Destiny.
Right? Like you can get TV series, and that's where I was. So much of like Courtney's conversation lately has been around the content aspect of it, and I think what some people are saying it, but I don't feel like it's getting echoed enough right now. That because we're so focused on obviously like studio acquisitions for gaming, but when we take a little step back and look and go, you acquire Bungie. Yes, gaming, it can be your Fortnite on PlayStation exclusive. You can build this thing to be gigantic, but you also have on side with Sony with the movie properties and movie rights and TV shows. And we look at Master Chief and Halo TV series coming. I think it just expands that opportunity for, say, Sony to sit there and go, all right, this makes sense to us from the gaming side, but we can also turn around and create our own head-to-head series on HBO or Netflix or whatever and start expanding our content so it's no longer just having people thinking about the game. It's Uncharted, the Uncharted movie, and having Destiny and a Destiny movie and all these things paired up. And same on Microsoft's side.
Well, it's
synergy.
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 And like, wasn't that always the plan? What didn't Bungie get like 500 mil from Activision when they originally signed up together because it was like a media platform? They were looking at it as more than just what it was. Sony stepping in just makes too much sense. And I like what you brought up, Court, with PlayStation's relationship with the Japanese developers, because over in Asia, PlayStation and Nintendo sell out Xbox like massively. Like when I lived in Korea and traveled to Japan, like you'd have a massive PlayStation section, a massive Nintendo section, and you'd have like a little corner for Xbox, just because it wasn't in the market share as much as it was over here. So that relationship, I mean, maybe, with Phil Spencer looking at it, Square Enix, and saying it's not worth it, I don't know, maybe PlayStation would have a different opinion about something like that.
Well, the only thing with Square Enix and Xbox is they do have a relationship. That's the one where if they could, but I look at other things. Like when everybody says EA, I'm like, okay, well, EA is nothing without their sports licensing. Those licensing don't come with the like, you know what I mean? Like those are contracts. Those contracts are up. That doesn't necessarily come with it. Like if they lose FIFA, it's over. Like that's a huge.
I think an somebody buying EA is mainly for BioWare and for Respawn. Those are the two.
Exactly. So and they're big cash cows of their sports games. So if you're not getting those, it's a weird one. It's like when everybody always says WB. I'm like, well, you're just getting the studios. You're not getting the games that you think you're getting. Like that's not coming. Those are Warner Brothers. Unless you're buying the Warner Brothers studio, you don't get those games. And I look at a Square Enix. PlayStation has done a good job of locking down the Final Fantasies for the next couple of years. So your biggest game in the Square Enix library wouldn't even be coming to your console because of contracts. So PlayStation's done a block. Almost PlayStation said, we don't have to buy Square Enix. There's no reason us to. We've blocked you from doing so. So PlayStation, Jim Ryan, they've done a fantastic job on block. Like, I don't care. People get mad about this buying this and all that. You know what? It's business. And it's great for gamers. We're about to get a streaming service out of Sony and a streaming service out of Xbox. And hopefully it comes down to us only having to just pay for 2 streaming services.
And here I am sitting over here, Mr. Physical Media, just like, oh, just bummed. Because I know I'm holding on to like the last relic.
Do you guys? I wanted to ask Matt and Kyle this. Do you see, I guess, parallels? But like, we look at the uproar that people have had within gaming about studio acquisitions and giant companies like Sony and Microsoft buying up these studios that we enjoy. These games, oh, what's going to happen? How dare they? Some people going really extreme, being like, this is crushing, this sucks. And other people going, yeah, it's whatever. But I often make the comparison to what we see in like movie industry, and you see giant conglomerates like Disney, and they scoop up Star Wars and they scoop up Marvel. And these things like Activision specifically getting scooped up by Microsoft. And a lot of people are like, oh my God, this is terrible. How dare they? How could they ever do this? But I don't see that kind of hatred coming out when Disney scoops in and says, we have Star Wars now. And we have Marvel now. Because I feel like it's the same. Like, I hate that Microsoft bought Activision and has Call of Duty. By the way, Endgame is amazing and I love Disney. Like, okay. Do you guys get what I'm getting at?
Yeah,
like,
you're definitely not wrong, and I understand where you're coming from. I think on the game side of things, where people get a little upset is with like the Star Wars and the Marvel thing. Those are just like media purposes, right? There's a very low cost, a low barrier of entry to go see those things. When it comes to like the game side of things, yes, that barrier is getting lower and lower with Game Pass and whatever, but you still need to buy a device to play it on. For the example of like if Xbox or Microsoft buys Ubisoft, right, and then they say all Ubisoft games are exclusive to Xbox. Well, then if you don't already own one, you have to buy a console. You got to buy a phone, a PC, whatever. Like there's a way bigger barrier.
On an Xbox, you could play it anywhere except a PlayStation.
Sure, yeah, which
but it's
kind of rub it in a little bit. It's fine.
Yeah, I think Kyle makes a really good point there. I also think that like the way that it started, at least with Hollywood, with Disney scooping up Marvel and scooping up Star Wars, those were at the time. It's like that was like unheard of, and we're starting to see this happen more and more with these kind of few big companies just kind of adding more and more under the umbrella. And I understand the worry of like, does it stifle their creativity? Can they make whatever they want anymore? Are they now limited to whatever their corporate overlords are telling them to do? And not to say that that's all exactly what happens, but like I feel like we're seeing more and more of this happen across media as a whole, and people are starting to have more volatile reactions to it regardless of where it's coming from, because when it was Star Wars and when it was Marvel, there was a novelty, it was a new thing, right? Disney owns them, we're going to see more coming from them now. Because I think we're seeing more of it happen, people are starting to get more and more upset about it, just because like Kyle said, the barrier to entry is so much higher. Like, let's be real here, when it comes to something like a Disney Plus or any of the Marvel stuff, you can find it if you really want it, regardless if you have the service or not, right? Like you don't have to necessarily be on the service to find that thing online to watch it or to kind of,
$500
enjoy it
for a box and $80 or plus 100 hours. And yeah,
exactly.
Xbox's whole, and I think Sony will go down this path as well. Their dream is just to have a dongle, or just you have it in your TV. You just have a controller. Like a buddy of mine messaged me and he was like, I had to get the extra controller, and I messaged him right away. I was like, I got one now, right in a box. He's only got a PC. He's getting Game Pass, and he's like, now I have an Xbox. To him, that's the way he's like, I already had a PC. Now that I play Xbox on my tablet, you can play it on soon you'll be able to play it on TVs. Like it's going to happen. And Sony's going to do the same thing. Sony was actually going that way. If you remember Vita TV, Sony was going down that path, and then almost did a U-turn at the PlayStation 4 when Don Maxford came on stage, and they were all probably like, what is he even saying? Okay, we don't want to do that thing. Let's just go games. But now it's gotten to how big streaming has become. And as someone that grew up originally with Star Wars and then didn't have it for years, I'm sorry, when Disney bought them, that was like the greatest thing for someone my age, that I got to finally get Marvel properties, get Star Wars stuff, and get to watch it again. And I think some people never grew up with not having things. And it seems that, and I've asked some developer that I know that used to work over at Ubisoft, his exact words were, this is great for the developers. He's like, these people are happy this is happening, because they get to, the people that were at Activision and Blizzard, they were making one game, and it was turning into they were about to only make one game. And now you have Phil Spencer going, let's make Guitar Hero again. Let's make all your old IPs again. And I can guarantee you, Phil Spencer's going to them and going, what do you guys want to make? Pitch me. And Sony's doing the same. Like, think about it. They have taken chances on a game like Ghost of Tsushima that we all wanted Ubisoft to make an Assassin's Creed game just in that feudal Japan and never happened. And then Ghost of Tsushima came out, and that's one of my favorite games of all time. Yeah. And that was PlayStation saying, show me. And they did, and they were like, you know what, let's do this.
Yep. Sorry, Kyle, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, that's the wild thing about this Bungie acquisition, too, because Bungie is still, in Jim Ryan's words, an independent, running all on their own, multi-plat kind of studio.
Yeah, they're not part of PlayStation Studios. It says it in the statement.
Yeah, they're like under the umbrella. They're like outside of it or close by or whatever it is. But like, it's weird to know that Sony spent $4 billion on a thing that they're not forcing them to be exclusive as of right now. Like, hey, you can still do your own thing. Just do your own thing. Put it wherever you want to put it. And it's fine, but you're kind of like buddy with us. It's wild.
If you look at the numbers, like people saying, "Oh, Call of Duty is going to be exclusive," I'm like, well, if Xbox is truly not trying to sell consoles, and they've made it clear that they're not, they're trying to sell a service, right? So you look at it, 70% of their player base currently, right now, Call of Duty is on a PlayStation. 70% of the player base on Destiny is currently on a PlayStation. But if you're Sony and you don't have Scrooge McDuck money like Xbox, you look at Destiny and go, no, I'll take your money. I'll also take every time you buy something for that game on an Xbox console, I get a percentage every single time. Like it actually makes sense for those two games to not be exclusive. Like if you have Activision Blizzard, you make Diablo, all that, it's exclusive. Okay. If Bungie makes a new IP, that's exclusive to PlayStation. But the two ones that they know that everybody will play all the time, give me my money all day long.
That's the same logic as why I'm okay with MLB The Show being everywhere, because it's gonna make the amount of money
on Game Pass April 5th.
Oh yeah, no, I have my Switch pre-ordered and I'm waiting for the collector's edition to be unveiled tomorrow to pre-order that from PS5. Like they're gonna make so much money for in-game stubs that you use for the card Diamond Dynasty mode. That's a ton of money going into PlayStation's pocket. So I'm totally fine with it going everywhere. Plus, MLB The Show is the best baseball game I've ever made.
It's phenomenal.
And like Sony San Diego needs to be praised a little bit more often at the Game Awards, just in general for what they do.
Hey, it's just like We Playground with, Forza. And,
absolutely.
Let's be real here. Sports games get a kick in the teeth. In the chat, Crimson Fox comments, what about Fox Studios? Once again, that was amazing as well, because now we get the Star Network and I get all adult programming on my Disney Plus. Like it's like Disney Plus and Netflix, and I don't need anything else. And my Xbox. And then every now and then I'll turn on my PlayStation for exclusives.
You're gonna need Paramount Plus for Halo.
I already have it. That's
well,
free.
then never mind.
Yeah,
never mind. We also did a video about disposable income.
Well, it's not. I'm at an age in my life where I'm at that age. That's what I always joke. Like when people look at people were leaving Spotify and someone was like, oh, that doesn't matter because so-and-so artists are there. I'm like, but that's not who's spending the money right now. The people spending the money are the ages 30 to 50. That's the biggest disposable income. That's where you market your stuff for, because those are the people that are going to spend more money right now. And that's why Xbox and PlayStation are like, hold on a second. So that demographic right now is just using streaming services like it's nobody's business. So let's dump all our money into it.
I have a question for everyone then, because like we're talking about Call of Duty and Destiny staying multi-platform, and I kind of brought up the thing of do we see them on the Game Pass on the Spartacus, but you have to pay for it elsewhere? Do you think because of Game Pass now, and because Sony is apparently in Jim Ryan's word they have an aggressive streaming plan, do you think we're going to see Sony first-party games come to whatever Spartacus is day and date? Do you think God of War will be there on a streaming service, or you can buy it? Because no. I don't know. Okay, tell me.
I think with Sony, it is a different, and as someone that has a PlayStation, I think even with PlayStation fans right now, you could tell them the game is not day and date, but you get it in 6 months on our service, and they'd be okay with it. I know I would have been if I was told, hey, Last of Us is not the new Last of Us, which is one of my favorite games ever. is not coming day and date on our service, but you'll get it in 6 months. If you want to play it day and date, you got to buy it, but you can get it in 6 months on our service. Xbox had to win their crowd back, like including myself. I sold my
Likewise.
Xbox One. I'm loving my Xbox Series X. I'm back. I was an Xbox 360 guy. I was an Xbox, the original Xbox, and then PlayStation 4 sold me because Sony was like, "Hey, we're just gonna give you good games, games." So I think Sony has got enough fanfare that they can get away. They can do what a Nintendo does, where Nintendo gives you nothing and takes all your money all the time. Sony could be like, this is what Nintendo does. They really just take your money. Sony can be like, I'll give me 6 months and I'll give you this game on our service. But when it goes gold, like, when they do their games, their game is the director's cut. When the director's cut comes out, that'll be on our service.
Yeah,
or when the first DLC drops.
I can see the same
day and date. No,
similar
certain
thing.
games, not the big ones.
I can see them doing a similar Disney Plus model of the next
Premier
Last
access.
of Us, the next God of War is going to be full retail price because it is this absolute phenomenal AAA experience that as a PlayStation 5 owner, I want it and I will pay for it because it is premium, it is next level, and I just understand that, and that's what I'm willing to do for those experiences that I can't get anywhere else, regardless of platform, for me. But I do see them going maybe down the path of similar to Disney, which is it's in theaters or it's out, like Court's kind of saying, like it's out now, and 3 months, 6 months down the road, you can get the standard edition of the next Last of Us in our Platinum Infinity version of our streaming thing. And then when like the director's cut inevitably comes out, then it's almost a cycle of, okay, director's cut is now retail and our deluxe edition of Uncharted is now in the streaming.
Yep.
And then a year after that, the director's cut goes into the bucket with the rest of the streaming games and off it goes. And then in 5 years, Sony can stand on stage proudly and say, look at the incredible library we have in our streaming catalog for just $199 a year or whatever. And you're looking at Uncharted, Last of Us, God of War 1, 2, 3, and it goes on and on. Director's cuts 2, 3, 4. That's what I see them doing, and lumping in their movie content into their streaming. But yeah, guys, Kyle, go ahead. Sorry, go.
No, I was just say I don't think Sony needs to put their games day and date at all. People buy those exclusive games. They sell millions and millions of copies. So why would they not take that money? I do think similar. I don't know what the time frame would be, 6 months, 3 months. But I could see like a month later getting a discount because you're part of the Spartacus program or whatever. And
well, Sony does that anyways. Their first party games discount real quick. But like Matt's idea of Premier Access actually makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Like, hey, if you already got Spartacus, like in Canada, it'll be like $40. In the US, it'd be like $30. You get the game on our service.
I also think like that is not where their focus is when it comes to streaming. I think what PlayStation really wants to hit home is unlocking the backwards compatibility library that PlayStation has, because that is what PlayStation has over Xbox, is lineage and history of a gigantic, vast library of great games that are currently locked away and on consoles that are hard to come by or just super inaccessible.
But
for
Kyle,
a lot of
don't
people.
you think that that's where on Sony's side, like from a business standpoint, that they don't want to do that because they're going to sit there and go, I can give you a remastered pick a collection of first party. Infamous. Thank you. Infamous. I can give you Infamous 1 and 2 remastered definitive editions, PS4 Pro / PS5 upgrades, and you will all pay $70-$90 for it.
Oh, for sure.
I'm just saying that, like, why
I'm
would
buying the Last
Sony
of Us
do
remake.
that? Yeah.
Why would they do that? Is because it's for the games that aren't going to get that treatment.
Fair, yeah.
Of like the cult classics, like as badly as I want a Legend of Dragoon remake, really, really badly, that's probably never going to happen. So to unlock the gigantic list of old school JRPGs that will probably take a very long time to remaster or remake or whatever, I just think that they can both exist, having the original game and a remaster at the same time, and people will be okay with it.
Now, I want to ask you guys, do you think you're going to be streaming these games or are you going to be downloading these games? And if you are streaming these games, the good news is, for you PlayStation fans, it will be on the Microsoft Azure server, so you'll get the Microsoft Blades. Do you think you're streaming them, or do you download? And does that make a difference to you? I know it does to me, but I'm going to ask you guys first.
I think they have to download. One of PlayStation's now biggest knocks in the last few years, and now they were forced to add downloads after a few years because nobody was using their service, because streaming at that time was not where it's at today, right? You can't reliably stream a game. These days you can to an extent, but not everybody has the internet capability to do so at a premium level, right? I think they have to be download only. I think Spartacus will stumble out the gate if they're only relying on streaming, because not everybody can afford to do it in that way. And like they have to download. They have to.
Absolutely. There has to be a download option. As somebody who uses PlayStation Now, thinks it's a great service, streaming is very choppy sometimes. Like I played through RE4 last year on PlayStation Now, Batman Arkham Origins on PlayStation Now. Both were fine, but it got really choppy and very frustrating at times. So there has to be a download option. There's no reason for them not to at this point.
I wanted to take a quick time out because we're going to go and plug some stuff, and we're going to kick it off with Matt from Burnout Brighter. Matt, plug your stuff for the audience, please, tonight. And thank you for joining us on the show. Thank you.
It's absolutely my pleasure. Thank you for having me, guys. This has been a lot of fun so far. You can find me over at Twitter @Matt, or you can find me over at youtube.com/burnoutbrighter. We're currently running a wonderful mental health series where we talk to a bunch of clinicians, psychologists, and other wonderful people from the mental health industry to talk about, the stuff that not everybody likes to talk about, and offering some tips and tricks on how you can deal with it. And of course, you can also find me at Yumi Capri as part of the PlayStation Driver. We rock every Thursday. Well, we record on Thursdays. We come out on Fridays talking about all things PlayStation.
Delicious. I love it so
yummy.
Much. Yummy. It is yummy.
Yum.
Kyle, talk to us.
That got awkward.
Yeah, Sony. No, it didn't. We're fine.
You're
weird.
Yeah, you
there. Kyle, talk to the good people.
Hey. Yeah, if you enjoy PlayStation, check out the Trophy Room A PlayStation Show, which is a weekly PlayStation podcast I do with one of my best friends, Mr. Badbit, where we talk about the latest and greatest in all things PlayStation at PS Trophy Room on Twitter and wherever you listen to podcast services. If you rate the show 5 stars on iTunes or Spotify, send us a screenshot of that rating to at Mr. Badbit or at Mr. KStep on Twitter, and you'll be entered to win a chance to get Horizon Forbidden West or Elden Ring, which is super sweet. In addition to that, if you
does Elden Ring have an easy mode?
Is there an easy mode?
I don't think so, but it's less stressful. It's less stressful, which is a plus.
That's cute.
If you're, yeah, exactly. If you want to know what's coming up to the indie game scene, check out 61indie.com, where we have a bunch of dev interviews and cool indie game coverage.
Phenomenal coverage.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, boys. Court, keep going. What's next on the docket, the topic you got, buddy?
Well, it's if this one is just for you, Kyle. This is right up your physical or digital, and how do you feel about the trend? So I'm gonna let you go first, Kyle, because I know you're a physical collector.
Oh my God, yes! Look at this
He's
man.
a huge physical collector.
Oh,
also, someone in
yeah.
the chat asked, so I think we should answer. They asked, I'll let the PlayStation guys answer this. Do we think Destiny 3 will be when it comes out, PlayStation exclusive?
Ooh, I think Destiny, the IP, might remain multi-plat and be everywhere. I think the new IP is what will be exclusive.
Makes sense.
I think it entirely depends on Call of Duty. I think that's kind of going. That's going to be this. I'm sure Sony and Microsoft are having plenty of conversations right now, trying to figure out what's going on. If Microsoft turns around and says Xbox, Call of Duty is exclusive, then Sony's going to turn around and say, okay, so is Destiny. I really do think it's going to depend one on the other. So I think they're going to make nice. I think they're going to keep each of the games on each other's platforms. But as soon as either one of them, it's a game of chicken now. As soon as either one of them starts to feel anything, I think the other shoe is going to drop right along with it.
Yeah, I think, and it also benefits them both to be like, okay, our game could be on yours could be on mine, but everybody knows if you're on ours, our streaming service, Call of Duty comes with ours, and your streaming service, Spartacus, you get Destiny.
Yeah,
and then Google and Amazon don't get anything, which is great.
Yeah. I mean, Minecraft is still everywhere.
True.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're making nice with that. So,
all right, so Kyle.
Yeah.
How do you feel? Because it is a trend, and it's a big trend that we're going digital. Look what happened in the music industry.
hurts my soul, Court. If you can't tell, not only just games, that's a Blu-ray case behind me. It's to me, physical media is so important because it's a preservation of the medium. So to be able to have a physical copy of it, so that way, no matter what, I can consume that is important to me. Because when you think of like these streaming services, right? Even with Game Pass, games leave Game Pass. Like, isn't Control leaving in a week or two? That's super sad. People should play that game, and I just want to be able to have it physically, and I know I'm one of the last few people that will have that. Like it saddened me so much that my local GameStop closed down. Because that was like my go-to, and now I only have one place in my town that I can buy games from, which is Best Buy. It just hurts. I don't want to be forced into the digital only life because I am one of those people whose internet isn't the best. And it's really going to make playing and watching very hard for me. And plus, I like the knickknacks, man.
Yeah, no, there are. I'll let you go, Matt 2 first, and then we'll get Matt 1 because Matt 1 is a collector as well.
See, for me, it entirely comes down to the steelbooks and the special editions now. Like, if I can get something cool by buying physical, I will. But I am a massive hype beast. I buy into things so quickly and so easily. So if I can play at midnight because I have it preloaded and pre-downloaded and ready to go, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to go that route. Unless, again, I can get, the Persona 5 Royal. I got it because I could get the Steelbook. With Pokemon Legends Arceus, I kept looking to see, okay, is there anything cool physical? No, okay. Then I bought it on the eShop, and that was my way through. So for me, I completely understand your point, Kyle, and you're right, truly. But for me, when it comes to just this like uncontrollable urge, like I just want to be there first. I want to play that game as soon as I can. For me, like if I get something cool by buying physical, then I will. Otherwise, I'll just go digital.
Mm-hmm. Matt 1.
I go for games digital, like almost always, but similar to you guys, where it's like if there is a really cool special edition steel case book of a game that I absolutely love, I might get it. It's gotta be something I really just want to be able to put up on display and something to just kind of enjoy. Otherwise, games for me they went all the way digital. Like my PlayStation 5 is digital edition. Have the Series X, but everything on there is, I kind of knew that going into this generation. I was like, I made the decision, PlayStation 5 digital, because I'm going first party games on my PlayStation. It's my Uncharted, it's Spider-Man, Wolverine, and I'm going to buy those games. I'm like, I just want to have them as long as I can. So digital on that side, and then Series X, I was like, well, third party, there's no such thing anymore. But third party at the time was a nice idea. And then I could have those if I want the physical copies, because if I want to be able to get collectors or something like that. Other things, I don't know. Some stuff I keep. But yeah, it's my knickknacks. So it depends. But gaming wise, much more digital. I mean, grew up with my PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4, and physical copies of everything, Nintendo, everything. So going digital doesn't really hurt that bad. Court, I kind of know your answer, but why don't you explain yourself?
Yeah, well, it's a weird dichotomy of an answer, because I'm a huge digital person, but for some reason over these Christmas holidays, I bought a ton of video games. I did what Sean Capri did, but I didn't go to a digital store. I went to a GameStop and I bought a bunch of Xbox 360 games because Phil Spencer made a comment about he believes in preservation of video games, and Kyle talked about it. And Phil Spencer kind of hinted at, like, they're always going to try and keep the preservation and put as much in backwards compat as possible, and also try and get as much in Game Pass. And so I started thinking about it. I'm like, Xbox 360 games are going to be... I had such a great memory from the 360. I was in my 20s. It was just such a great time to play video games. You had think of the games that came out: Assassin's Creed, BioShock, Infamous, Uncharted. Just unbelievable 10 years of video games for all of us. It's just craziness. And so I started buying a bunch of Xbox 360 games. I'm collecting Xbox 360 games for some reason. But everything else I buy digital. But if I go into my local GameStop, I'll go check out their bargain bin. And if I see a copy of Halo for like $5 or whatever like that, I'm snagging it.
That's the only thing that
even though it's on Game Pass. I don't know.
For the old licensed games, I have that problem. I tried to go into like a comic book shop. It was like must have been 6 months ago, and I was like, "Oh, SmackDown versus Raw." I was gonna give me a wrestling game, and I popped it in, and I was like, "Nope, it doesn't work." And I was able to go back and just return it. I'm like, in no bueno. But then I was like, I'm like, I need a 360, and then I do need Ecort's 360. So there is a lot to that. When I'm like, I wish I could play the old Spider-Man games. I wish I could play all of the old wrestling games that I love, and not have to go and figure something out. And
you can still get these last gen consoles, like 360s right now for the Canadians over here. They're like $50 on Facebook Marketplace,
and it's worth getting. Like that is the next in line for me, Cord. It's like I just need a 360 just plugged in, just in case I want to throw something on.
And my friend gave me that for free. Like, God bless his soul. He was like, "Well, I'm not using it. You can have it." I'm like, and then he gives me a stack of games. They're all every Call of Duty game ever. I'm like, okay. And then Microsoft buys Activision. I'm like, well, I'm the guy literally at Christmas. I told Matt, I'm like, I bought all the Assassin's Creed. I spent $100 and I bought them all. I'm going to play them all. And they're like, and Ubisoft Plus is coming to Xbox. I'm like, what the? Very frustrated on that one.
Yeah. Like there's already been some run-ins with like when it comes to threatening the physical stuff. Like a few months ago, the PS3 store is shutting down and the Vita store is shutting down. And like the mad rush of buying those titles, or on the flip side, when it comes to like the movies streaming side of things, where things are all constantly switching what streaming service they're on. Like I hate that. I'd much rather just have it, and
like
no
Disney
matter
Plus,
what,
where you know it's all going to be there.
Exactly. Like there was the thing maybe like last year or so, maybe 2 years ago, the whole thing of like The Office was leaving Netflix, and everyone was freaking out. Not me, because I own the whole series on Blu-ray. I'm fine. Like it's those things, or back a few years ago when Telltale went under and all the Telltale games got delisted digitally, like with no way of buying them, and they were just gone forever. Like there's a reason why I much rather have it in the case. Just
Batman's Arkham's Origin. You can only play it if you have the physical copy.
Yeah. So I have a question then, because I think we're starting to enter into this territory a little bit, even with physical games. I mean, look at Jump Force as an example. That's now being like delisted, and like it's just going to like disappear unless like you own it digitally, or you have the physical edition. But like when these older games start to get delisted or the support stops, if you pop the disc in, if you can't get all the updates and everything, like does that affect your enjoyment of what there was a better version out there if you can't get everything for it anymore?
Yeah, and there are some physical games, they've talked about it. There are physical games that won't work still. Like I could buy the game, put it in my 360, and that game ain't gonna work. Because if it's an online only game, it ain't working.
That is the caveat when it comes to like if the server shut down,
Destiny eventually will not work. Division. I love the Division. Even if I had the physical copy of that game, it's eventually once the servers are gone, that game is dead.
What happens though when we get into this, like Matt's saying, like, okay, we're getting very much into the digital age, obviously, and physical is getting smaller and smaller. But what happens when we are seeing right now with these giant Microsoft and Sony acquisitions, and we are 15 years down the road, 20 years, there's new ownerships that have rolled through. Phil Spencer is on a yacht somewhere doing Phil Spencer things. He's doing Phil Spencer business.
He'll be wearing a leather jacket and track pants
all day long, baby. Yacht. But what happens when there's
Destiny 4 on a PlayStation?
But there's different ownership,
for sure, actually,
and they want to sell off Ubisoft and sell Ubisoft over to PlayStation or Amazon. So then you have it on your digital version. Your Assassin's Creed was through your Xbox because it was all owned over there, and now maybe the whole library doesn't work because it's all owned proprietary by now Amazon. You know what I mean? So it's like the digital rights, it just completely dies. So you're like, okay, I couldn't even get the physical. Now I kind of bet that you guys bought these guys, but then you sold them off to somebody else like Amazon or Apple. And now it's kind of like what we deal right now, like I was saying with Netflix. And you've got like, well, I can't watch this show here, and now it's gone. So I need the physical copy. What do you guys think though? Like I kind of worry about that.
Well, I mean, look at even with the way that things are handling with Jim Ryan, right? He's very much, until the Game Pass kind of forced him in the corner, he was very much of the mentality that old game is old, too bad. Why do you want to play that game from 10 years ago when you have this new shiny thing, right? You're talking about new ownership, new people coming in to kind of lead the charge. If they don't care at all about backwards compatibility, if they don't care about whether you're going to be able to play those games 20 years ago or not, we're going to get to a point where it's just going to be almost a cyclical thing. These things are going to go into this Disney Vault X kind of thing where they're just gone regardless of what else happens.
Like, what if you can't play
Disney
Uncharted?
Vault is lies. I'm just gonna say it. The Disney Vault is lies now.
What?
Because I grew up with the Disney Vault, and they were like, "You buy this VHS or it's gone forever." Well, I have Disney Plus, and it ain't gone. I can watch it anytime I want. My daughter did a live reenacts of Encanto soundtrack today. She did from at the half an hour, the whole thing.
Nice.
It's her favorite by far. And look at this. That's a movie that came out in theaters for Disney, didn't hit, came out on Disney Plus. It is it's the top 100 song, and the first time for Disney in 27 years.
Wow. It's for like three weeks running or something.
Yeah.
Right?
It is the number. It is outselling. It's already outsold the Frozen soundtrack for downloads.
Jeez.
How about that one? My daughter thinks Encanto, and I love that movie.
Oh, it's so good.
And so
good.
If you don't think the digital market is leading the charge, I don't know what else to tell anybody anymore. It's because that's the way content is being consumed, and some people might not like it, but I'm sure we're still gonna be able to get our physical copies. But as long as the company is like a Disney or a Microsoft or Sony, I think we're in a good place. But when you get to those companies, like as you were saying before, Matt, that don't care, that's when we should get scared, because that's when we lose our stuff. When they're like, well, we don't care about that. Like, thanks to Phil Spencer, Jim Ryan cares again.
Mm-hmm.
Like I joked to Matt, we were talking the other day, and I was like, you know, it would be awesome if Shuhei was still in charge. Like, wow, like he was a rock star and he cared about video games, and now Xbox has someone that's in charge that wears. I still can't stop laughing that time he was wearing track pants and a leather jacket on the Bethesda thing, like that. But he kept talking about video games. He's online playing video games. Shuhei does the same. When you have someone that cares about the preservation of video games are there.
Yep.
The Xbox people right now get to feel what it was like to be a PlayStation player at PlayStation 4 when that
because that was
cared.
awesome when PS4
awesome.
came out, and I was looking at both consoles and watching both conferences like all of us were, and just so excited. You were amped and pumped for what Sony was doing and having fun with it, and it was just all games, and Xbox went the complete opposite direction. And I mean, kudos to everyone, like for PlayStation, for doing what they did for the whole generation and getting to this point where we get games like God of War, and then Xbox and Phil Spencer putting his track pants on and deciding I like video games like a lot.
Yeah, I go back and watch the 2016 PlayStation E3 conference all the time.
This is how you trade a video game. Like, that's the most hilarious thing ever.
Yeah. That wasn't that year, but the 2016 one was like the God of War announcement.
Yes.
Resident Evil 7 being VR in first person. And
was that
Days
Spider-Man
Gone.
as well?
That was Spider-Man. That was Days Gone. That was Kojima walking down the light up ramp. That was Crash coming back and Insane
Well, how about
Trilogy.
that?
Like,
We're never getting E3 moments again. They're gone.
We're not.
No,
That's
E3's
also
dead.
very sad.
But I mean, even look at we were just talking about why we would buy physical over digital if it's an awesome, something special editions or whatever, a steelbook. But I mean, look at how many special editions could nowadays just come with a code for the game, right?
The steelbook was empty.
Right,
the steelbook was empty.
Yeah, so you pay $200, $300 to get this beautiful looking statue with steelbook, blah 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 blah, but you don't actually even get a physical copy of the game, and that's kind of becoming the norm.
Or in some cases, I think the first one that I remember of is like Wolfenstein's 2, crazy expensive one. Just didn't come with the code or the game at all. It was just all the physical goodies, but you didn't get the game. You had to buy the game separately.
Well, wasn't there Horizon was going to do the same, and then they had to backtrack because people lost their freaking minds?
Zero Dawn.
There was always going to be a code.
But no, there was one.
There was no dual entitlement.
Yeah, it's still.
Yeah.
Still a weird flex when they don't give you that.
Oh yeah.
Like, you think about it, you buy a DVD, you get the digital code, and the gamers are like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go with no on that."
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, Cart, do you want to take us home there?
So I first want to thank both of you. This was awesome, and for everybody watching, we're gonna be doing this once a month. We're gonna have some people come on. We're gonna be doing this again, and fortunately, we're gonna have another good friend of ours, Mr. Badbit's gonna come on. He's a rock star under his own. He can do it on his own, by the way. But he's a very good friend of the show. We're gonna have him on. Another PlayStation voice. But we're going to try and always do it so that there's a voice from all sides of the fence here, so we can have a discussion. not just about what's going on in the world, because we are an Xbox show, but we're also a video game show, and we like all video games. Not gonna lie, I even like games on Nintendo, even though Nintendo really likes taking my money way too many times in a row about the same thing, and they get me every time. They're like, "Hey, remember Super Mario Brothers?" I'm like, yeah. I mean, we're gonna give you the same thing with no bells and whistles, but we're gonna make you buy it again. Okay.
I popped so hard when I saw the show was coming to Switch this year, and then the cross progression.
I know
where I can bring it on the go. Like,
it's like you have a Vita all over again, right?
Yeah, and I love the show on Vita, and I'm like, yes, please, I'll play that wherever it goes.
Oh man, Matt, Kyle, thank you guys so much for coming on the show and agreeing to put up with this shenanigans.
Thanks for having me.
It was awesome.
For real, this was a ton of fun, and I'm so excited to rock with you guys, rock with all of you again in the future. Blast.
For sure. And Tech with the Specs, I see you in the chat. You will be here. You have no choice.
That's aggressive, but sure. Thanks, guys.